going to hear from them amplified, but they're recording. Yes. Yes, please. So we are the four of you will be sharing a mic, so we're going to play a little bit more.
We use that one for this one.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Good morning, and thank you for joining us for our Careers 2030 webinar series. This one is focused on Generation Space, the new innovations in space technology, and how we can remove the educational equity, or provide educational equity and remove zip code barriers through some innovations and partnerships. So we're really excited today to have some amazing panelists with us. We have Dr. Chance Glenn from University of Houston, Victoria, Dr. Carla Decor from University of Houston, Victoria as well, and Corey Sangri-Billy from Stonechild College, all the way in Montana. And then we have Dr. Zachary Hodges from Houston Community College. So thank you, everyone. And if you would please take a few minutes and go over what you do, what your expertise is, your institution, some innovations that are happening in your institutions, where you're located, and things like that.
I'm at the end, so I'll start. Zachary Hodges. I've been president 28 years in May of Houston Community College Northwest, which is really our West Side campuses in West Houston. We're here at the West Houston A-Leaf campus, and we have the Katy campus and the Spring Branch campus. We, if you ask what the innovations are here, I really think that it's around engineering. We have strong partnerships with Texas A&M University, University of Texas Tyler, and the University of Houston, and host them on our campuses, and real successful partnership. If you look at my LinkedIn page, it'll say partnering to build mindsets and skill sets in the 21st century. And so I have an exciting job because things are changing so fast, it's hard to keep up with. So I thoroughly enjoy what I do, and so proud of our college.
President Corey Sangri-Billy, Stonechild College. We are rural in Montana, and we're one of 36 tribal colleges in the United States. And so one of the things, since we're so rural, we do focus on partnerships to bring those opportunities to our students and to our community. One of our newest degree programs that we have is cybersecurity. And so with that, we're partnering with another tribal college institution. We'll offer the 2-year and they'll offer the 4-year. We've also partnered with a lot of like Sandia, different agencies where our students can do internships. So that's one of our focus right now that we're working on. But we're also looking at other partnerships. We do have 2 bachelor's degree programs in elementary education and early childhood. And so those are some of the things that we're looking at offering other tribal communities and offering more of an online. But you know, a lot of our focus now is how do we bring those opportunities to our students and to our community.
Hello everyone, I'm Carla Hernandez Decor. I am Interim Vice President for Enrollment Management at the University of Houston, Victoria. We are a rural university as well. We are the smallest of the 4 universities under the University of Houston system. And we're proudly to serve minorities and Hispanic. We're a Hispanic serving institution and also a minority serving institution. And one of the things that we focus on often is finding ways to really make higher education more accessible to students that come from underrepresented groups. One of the things that we have been focusing on is how can we provide more STEM career fields to those students, and how can we make it more accessible for them to educate themselves about those career options. I've been working with underrepresented populations over the years. I actually work with nonprofits on finding ways to diversify some of those career fields, and I've been doing that for over 16 years, and I'm excited to do that. I'm excited about the future, and I'm excited to see all of the new things that are coming our way. We're working closely with Houston Community College. We have a campus in Katy that is almost across the street from Houston Community College. We're working closely with Katy ISD, which is a very fast-growing ISD or school district, about 93,000 students. We're working on pathways to help students start to think about their career year from the 9th grade. So we're hoping to create 9 through 16 pathways to help students understand which classes do they need to take, starting in the 9th grade to go to college and hopefully finish a bachelor's degree shortly after finishing a high school diploma. So we're excited about all that is to come, and I'll let our provost kind of talk more about some of the exciting things we have coming up in UHV.
All right, thank you. I'm Chance Glenn. I am the Provost Vice President of Academic Affairs at UHV. And what that means basically is over all of the academic programs, making sure that they meet the needs of our community and also that they are poised to be what's needed as we evolve and grow in our future. So it's very appropriate that we talk about this particular topic that we're addressing today. And for example, we're right now opening new programs and concentrations, and you mentioned cybersecurity, for example, artificial intelligence. We're looking at aviation as a program as well, training pilots for the future. There's a lot of things that we're doing to try to address that need. Now, from a personal standpoint, I'm engaged in some research because anybody who knows me, I'm a big Star Trek fan. And, I'm an electrical engineer, and I've been influenced and inspired by all of those technologies. So we are developing new innovations in 3D printing. And also I'm involved in some research that has to do with space propulsion and space-time and space warp type stuff. So really far out there, cutting edge stuff, but has the potential of being an influence on what we do in the future. And that's what we're talking about here, is the future and who plays in it and why it's important that everyone have an opportunity to be a part of this future that we're building together. So that is why I'm here, and I'm really happy to be here.
Right. Well, thank you, everyone. So my name is Ghazal Qureshi, and I am with Upbringry. So I wanted to actually give a little bit of a background for our webinar audience, that how Upbringry is actually working with different schools and educational institutions. We provide an online platform that provides access to careers of the future. So we're helping students connect the dots, helping teachers actually have access to career and technical exploration programs for their classroom, where students are not just learning the skills of today, but also seeing how they apply to the jobs of the future. And that's why the space program and the innovations that are taking place are so critical and so close to our heart. We also have a big emphasis on the educational equity piece, where we're using digital internships to actually provide access to students that may not be in Houston, that may not be in the parts of the world where they will have access to those amazing opportunities to be able to apply their skills. So we've built out a very robust digital internship program. So enough about us. I'm going to pass it on to my co-moderator, and then we're going to dig into the panel. So here is Takidra Pierre.
Hello, everyone. My name is Takidra Pierre. I am the director of the Information, Impact, and Sustainability Center at Prairie View A&M University, which is about 45 miles northwest of Houston. So excited to be here and moderate this discussion amongst all of my old and new friends. So let's jump into Dr. Glenn. You mentioned that you are a Star Trek fan.
Yes.
And so we're talking about all things space and careers and what students can do to prepare. Can you think about some careers that may be coming between 2030 and 2050, and what students can do to prepare for those careers in space exploration?
Well, interesting that you put those dates on, because that's a 20-year gap you're talking about, and it's about 7 years from now. The way that technology, science has accelerated in its ability is astounding, and it's an exponential curve on how quickly technologies advance now. So the kind of things that we'll be talking about in 2030 2035, 2050, if we all live to see it, it's going to be mind-boggling. So I don't even know if we can project that far. Just a quick aside. I had a interesting and deep scientific conversation about space-time and space warp with an artificial intelligence engine, and it was fascinating and it was insightful, and I got ideas from it. So if you think about that progression itself, there'll be so many different things that emerge out of that. So the 2 points I want to make is, one, as we're talking, it's very important that we involve and engage as many people as possible. Diversity is not just important because you say it's the right thing to do. It's important because the plethora of ideas and getting more people who come from different backgrounds to focus on the challenges that we have as a society, it's better to do it that way. So that's number one. But the other thing is that, as you mentioned, there are more careers than just an astronaut, to say, like NASA has trained in the past. If we're going to build a space economy and a whole operations in space, you're going to need all kinds of people. The same kind of things we do here on Earth will need to be done out in our space, society. And so we need people in all of these different areas to do it.
Right, so how can we, and this is open to anyone, how can we start to eliminate or continue to eliminate those barriers for students to have access to innovative technologies?
I'll take that. I would say that one of the things we need to do is really just providing more opportunities for students that are in underrepresented groups to be exposed to those opportunities, to see the fun way of learning. A lot of times I think we have seen classrooms that continue to be traditional classrooms when education is not traditional anymore. Students are learning, I have two young kids, one is 9 and one is 15, and they learn a lot from YouTube. And they're teaching me a lot from YouTube, just watching videos or doing their own research. My 9-year-old daughter comes up with a lot of fascinating ideas on things that she's explored and learned just by browsing the internet. And I think we need to recognize that the students of today want more interaction. They want more innovation in how they're learning. They want to be engaged in the process of learning rather than just taking tests. Most students nowadays do not want to just sit in the classroom and take tests. So I think being able to engage and just put those opportunities in front of students that are from all groups and backgrounds, I think will make a big difference for sure.
Would anybody else like to answer that? Dr. Hodges?
Thank you, Carla. It really is about access and opportunity, but it's also, we've got to have something that students want. There has to be some kind of desire there to pursue higher education. And so much of, with high stakes testing in the public schools, we've created passive learners that they think they sit in the classroom, there's an instructor in the front, they teach to the test, and students are not motivated. They're just not interested. And so you have to go to public schools, although we have found out they really don't have to go to public schools. They don't have to continue on, unfortunately. But when they get to us, we've got to have something to offer that's unique and makes sense to them. So anyway, I think higher education and public education is really in an existential crisis as far as relevance. And to go back to what Carla was talking about, learning occurs everywhere all the time. It doesn't just occur in a classroom. So we have our challenges ahead of us.
One thing I'd like to add is, partnerships, and that's one of the reasons why we're here in Houston, is how do we bring those opportunities we don't have the expertise in our area. So one of the things that we want to work on is building the partnerships and relationships, so those opportunities can be brought to our community.
In the opportunities that I do have to, actually teach in the classroom, I tell the students that you really should be here seeking knowledge, not a degree, not a GPA. Your degree is an indication of the knowledge that you're seeking, and your GPA is an indication of how well you attained it. But all of those have different flaws within the system. But if you're out attaining knowledge, then it is an never-ending quest to know more and to learn more, and then to pass that knowledge along to others. And I think that's what we really should be trying to do as educators and as students. That's the goal we should be shooting for.
These are all wonderful, insightful conversations that we're having right now. But coming back to what you said, Dr. Glenn, there's so much innovation that's happening. Over the last few months, just by raise of hands, we can see that the entire world has heard of the advances on artificial intelligence, ChatGPT. That's a conversation among schools, how to eliminate something like that, from plagiarization and things like that. But is that something that is an equalizer for us? Or is that something that would be something that would, again, set aside certain segments of the population? How do you all feel about that? And honestly, this was not a question that I was planning to ask, but you mentioned, so it just kind of popped in my head, and I would love to hear your feedback on that.
I'll start, because I have some specific thoughts about this. And number one, there was actually a question that came up in a recent press conference that the White House talking about this, and people are actually fearful about what this capability of artificial intelligence is. Now, from my standpoint, I look at it as an opportunity, number one, to expand the way we learn, to expand the way we obtain knowledge, and to utilize it to improve our society. That's how we should utilize it. Now, there's going to be nefarious players and others who have other types of motivations, but that is the opportunity. Then there's this fear that this technology can evolve into a consciousness, and a consciousness connected to all parts of our society that then could turn back on us. That's a fear that many have. But again, artificial intelligence is determined by what it is being taught, just like any child or anybody else. So I think we need to be thinking more about the kind of things we use to train AI, and then think about how we're going to utilize it.
Absolutely. That's one of the concerns, that ChatGPT is very biased, and that's why we don't necessarily want it to be doing research for us and needing the human element. So that is absolutely true. I love that conversation. Would love to continue with you later on that. But I have a question. One of the things that we know is that in the past it has been, just as it was mentioned, what is the space program? What are the jobs that are needed for the space program? It's mostly like astronaut, engineering, aviation, things like that. However, as you mentioned in the panel, the jobs of future for the space are so much more, right? They are about how to live, how to produce, how to build a habitat, how to grow food, how to communicate. Any of those jobs now translate into space jobs, and we're having a discussion about that. The question is, how do you do what you do on Earth in space? That's the thing. So as educational institutions, Dr. Hodges, I'm going to start with you. Do you feel that is something that could get more students interested, because now it's not purely technical jobs that may be needed? in space? Is it something that we can use as an equalizer as we can get more and more students to start thinking about being a part of this new generation of Space Force ready?
Yeah, it's difficult for me to wrap my mind around that, much less our students. And so I guess where I would go with that, and I'd go back to what Dr. Glenn was talking about, there needs to be a coherence of our process of education that students go through, that when they finish their bachelor's degree, it's the ability to continue to learn. Can you imagine getting a degree in artificial intelligence and then it's irrelevant the day you walk out the door? So if you can't think, if you're not curious, if you're not creative, if you don't have a basic skill set for learning, I've been so attracted to the way engineers are trained. You said you were an electrical engineer. There's a methodology around that. It really applies to many kinds of job situations. So, and what public school education has become, community college and higher ed, unfortunately, and I go back to what you were just talking about, is you take these courses in high school, you take 20 courses at the community college, you take 20 more at the university, and you get a degree. Doesn't have to make sense. It doesn't have to follow a linear pathway for broader learning. It's just you need those courses. And I think we're making a mistake around that. And so I think where we start, first of all, students need to be able to read and write and speak English there in this country. So that's first priority. Secondly, I think they have to be, you have to get them motivated and challenged. They have to come to the community college or they have to come to the university ready to learn. And there's a lot of reasons students go to college, and they're not all because they want to learn, And so I think we're just missing the boat from day one by not challenging students, having an individual learning plan for each student, trying to figure out what motivates them. And we're not ever going to get 100%, but we can do a lot better than we're doing as far as creating opportunities for students to be challenged, to build self-esteem around learning, and then that curiosity will naturally flow.
I just want to agree with Dr. Hodges in regards to what you said earlier about creating programs that are attractive for students, so attracting students to these programs. So does anyone else on the panel want to suggest how we can create programs to attract students to the space industry? And it may be an industry that they don't even realize that they can be a part of. Personally, I think that they need a technical skill set because it's off the face of the earth. And so there's a certain level of technical insight and knowledge that they will need to have. So if we have students that are thinking about any type of career in the space field, what types of programs can we create to attract those students to our campuses?
I would just like to add that there are several programs that are already underway. Like I know NASA has the STEM Gateway program, but it's mostly located at NASA. I think that there's a huge opportunity, and maybe that's something I just don't know about, but I think there are more opportunities to bring some of those programs into the classroom, especially in schools that are mostly with underrepresented students, student populations. I know Amazon also did a STEM program for schools as well, for K through 12 schools. And there's so many other ways that we can introduce students to just knowing what are some of the other options that you can do in space. You don't have to be an astronaut. I know when I was in school, I never even thought about becoming an astronaut. To me, that was not for me, right? It was for the smart kids, not for me. And I know I'm not the only one that felt that way. Many students feel that way now. Even when I talk to my kids about it, when I say, hey, we can do internships at NASA, we can go to NASA, they always say, well, I don't want to be an astronaut. Well, you don't have to be an astronaut. I had a friend that actually worked in the internship programs at NASA a couple of years ago, and she said they had a lot of openings for social media, for marketing, for finance, for just other things that were not necessarily related to becoming an astronaut, but students were just not applying for it. Oftentimes, those positions went, unfilled because no one would apply for those positions. So I think it's important for students to just be introduced to all the possibilities that are out there, but it is going to take a lot of the private sector who has more resources than we do to come and actually create and fund those projects in the schools.
That is an excellent point. The problem is the access to resources. So one thing I really wanted to really understand, we are, all of us are in this Houston, Texas region. I really want to understand the challenges, Corey, that your college may be facing and how you're trying to get that interest built up in your pipeline.
So one of the things that we've been talking about is we're talking about our strategic plan is how do we engage our students from K through 12. And so one of the projects that we're looking at doing this summer is doing labs, getting them used to the campus, letting know who people are on campus, and we are really, we have two feeder schools that we're very small, like rural, and so those are some of the things that I think that we can start with is showing them the opportunities, what science is, just letting them know that, we at the college, we can provide this opportunity for you, and so that we can be one, that learning spot for them and, getting them into learning. I think that's the big thing is people want to learn, where can they go, and, and there's always students, I want to go here, I want to go there. Well, no, you should come to Stone Child because we do offer a lot of very good programs, and we do demand, we do them at a higher level, for our classes and our courses, and so, just to give them more opportunity as, that these are options. You don't have to be in space. Like I don't ever wanted to be in space, but like I can probably run a program to help me get there. Before I became the president, I was in computers and my master's in computers, and it all leads you to where I am now. And so that's some of the things that I always think about. Well, you guys have all these applications now. You just tell it what to do. I had to do the code to make anything work, and so just providing them and showing them. And I think that's what we were lacking, and that's where we're going to grow in is trying to bring those opportunities at a younger age.
Yeah. The dates that you have posed was, for example, 2050, and that's roughly 30 years in the future. So I challenge you to think back on 1993. What kind of technologies were we working with then? And what we do, the things that we do now that we take for granted that we didn't have back then. And I'm sure we can think of some things. I remember cassette tapes and.
Well, the cell phone was bigger than this microphone,
Yes.
or bigger than this microphone,
Right.
with an antenna that was required to utilize it. So
I saw an image of all of the different technologies that you would squeeze down to put into your phone now. But just think about that, and think about the acceleration of technology. So now, say in 30 years, what are we going to be working with? So if in that time, say there are habitats on the moon, and you've been to Mars and started things there, we have orbiting facilities, perhaps hotels and flights going back and forth. There are going to be need for people beyond people focusing on technical areas to work in those places. So you would be working in space, perhaps, but doing some of the things that we do now and even beyond. And so when we talk about professions and jobs and careers in space, as we go further and further along and it becomes more and more a typical thing, then some of the careers that people have will be very much like what we do on Earth.
Okay, now you're speaking my language. I get so excited speaking about all these career opportunities because to me, that is the open field. That is where we can make such an impact at all levels by bringing these students together that are not interested necessarily in being an engineer, but yet they may want to grow food in space, but there are their own challenges in how do you grow food in space without gravity and without the environment.
Yeah.
Right. So we're not, or if you have to lug all the materials from Earth all the way to Mars, how are you going to do that in your own lifetime? So that is where I feel that colleges, universities, schools need to start thinking about getting students excited about being a chef in space, being a resort operator in space, having their own hotel in space. Is there any thing that any of you, and I'm going to open it up to everybody, can think about some programs, and I think Takidra started by asking that question, how can we get other students that are not into technology necessarily right now, but as a result they may get interested in technology, how can we open it up to them so that we're allowing a different set of populations, the non-engineers, to get excited about learning something that they can apply in the future?
Well, I'll jump on that answer
Okay.
really quick because we have the advantage here in Houston to have NASA, Johnson Space Center. We have Space Center Houston that has phenomenal programs for K through 12 students. So for the most part, and it's not every single school in every single district, but our students have grand exposure to the space industry. We need to show them through experiential learning what could be. And so students don't think about graphic design. They don't think about fashion design when it comes to someone has to create the uniforms that the astronauts wear, and the food that's grown. Agriculturalists, scientists, farmers have to lend their expertise to the scientists about what type of food and how it can be grown. How it can be grown in space. So there's a lot of research that happens, but until students see that and they hear about it, they don't know that that's even an opportunity for them. And so, like Stonechild College being in Montana, which is away from any NASA hub that I know of, there could be something around, right? But away from any NASA hub that I know of, the partnerships that a lot of our school districts can have in the greater Houston area is really advantageous. To be able to take students to Johnson Space Center, to take them to the visitor arm, which is Space Center Houston, so that they can see all of these different careers. Every single career that a student has availability to, NASA employs, whether it's a chef, whether it's the fashion, whether it's the graphic design, educators. There's so many different pieces that go into NASA outside of just being an astronaut. And so giving students exposure to that and giving the teachers, the educators exposure to that, because they may not know. Because they may not have lived or grew up in Houston around NASA and Space Center Houston. So creating what we want students to see, I think is really, really important, giving them that exposure so that they know what to expect down the road from the space industry outside of just getting to the moon or getting to Mars.
I'd like to add too that there are, as we know, many companies that are popping up that are getting involved in this beyond NASA. And they are also employing people of all these different areas that you're talking about. You've got logistics, you've got project planning, accounting, just all of the different things that you need in order to build this industry up. For example, there's a company that is proposing these leisure type of trips to space in this giant balloon. And you go up to a certain altitude, and it's a nice ride over a course of a few hours, and you can drink martinis while you are sitting in a comfortable space, but overlooking Earth. But somebody's developing that and developing technology. But as you do that, then the service side of that, and there'll be people on the ship that are doing all that and providing that and the technology around it. So I'm just kind of assenting to your point that there's so much around this that, you know, is an opportunity for our students as we continue to just talk about it.
If I can add to that too, there are so many opportunities for small businesses. Like you said, I knew a business that actually they specialize in growing food without sunlight. And that is something that got picked up by NASA. So NASA is always looking for different small businesses that have innovative ideas to bring to space. And also students. I know there was a group of community college students, I believe it was Lone Star, I can't remember, that they created something to use underwater. It was one small piece. A group of STEM students created it in class, and NASA funded it, and they use it now to go to space. So there are so many other things. A lot of students like to play video games. Video games are something that are using in a lot of exploration, especially with petroleum. I know someone that actually used to love playing video games and didn't go to college, but then he decided that he wanted to be into petroleum exploration, went to school to get a 1-year, I think, certificate, and he does really well, making a very good living doing just that, and it's a simulation of video games. And it is something that I'm sure could be used also in space.
Let me follow up on that small business thing and maybe shift gears a little bit, if it's okay. Two things. I think COVID has had a major impact on this country. And in the public schools, students just didn't come back. They didn't come back to the universities. They didn't come back to the community colleges. They're still out there. Now, whether and when they will come back, education is a lifelong process. So sooner or later, they're going to come back. But I don't think, two things. One, students are working virtually, and our economy has shifted to a virtual work environment, which should be an asset for y'all. And so I don't think we can ignore that. The other thing in Houston is we can't ignore the gig economy. I mean, students are out hustling, and they're doing all kinds of work on the side. It's a cash environment, and they're making good money. I mean, they are out there. So, and their parents are as well. So I think that now, you know, they're making $15 an hour, and which is a good wage. Plus, there's 3 or 4 members of the family that are making $15 an hour, which is creating, you know, family income. So I don't think we can ignore the realities of Houston, especially as far as who is our 21st century workforce and what it is they're doing, and how critical that is. We cannot afford a generation of unemployable people. And so people have to be motivated, and for the most part, you know, people are moving to Houston, and not for the safety net, but for the opportunity, which is a great gene pool for the future, because people are working hard and interested in their families and working hard. So how do we as educators tap into that and use that as an asset? Realize they may not be here now, but maybe they'll be here in a little while, making sure they learn English. And then if they have that small business, that we're providing entrepreneurial programs, which folks in this room have participated in with Houston Community College to enhance their business. So there's just lots of ways we can move and be agile, and because there really is at this point in time about agility of all institutions, and how can we be more agile around who's there and how things are changing.
I'm glad you brought up the entrepreneurial side, because that's one aspect that we haven't really touched on as far as the space industry. Dr. Glenn, you mentioned a company that's innovative with the balloon, but the entrepreneurship and the innovation that even at this campus where we are in West Houston, the West Houston Institute for HCC, you foster innovation and collaborative workspaces and maker spaces and places for students to ideate. Even in those spaces, everyone doesn't have access to HCC. I know you have an apprenticeship program that reaches out to rural communities and underserved communities. So how can programs like that, and even UH Victoria, you guys might have some similar programs, how can programs like that reach more students? So those students that left and didn't come back, or are seeking educational opportunities for the first time, how can those types of programs reach out to different audiences?
Well, you mentioned UHV, and so I'll mention something specific that we're doing that we kind of brought in is a organization called the Innovation Collective, and what it does is really try to inspire innovation within a community. And we're started focusing on the Victoria community, which we noted is away from here, somewhat considered rural. But you want to create innovation there. And so the university connected with this organization, and now we together create opportunities. We bring meetings together where people talk about innovative ideas, and it could be from a wide range of things. We have people who started businesses in food service. We have people who started businesses with clothing. We have people who started businesses in using additive manufacturing as a vehicle to create products. But people are talking about it together, and they're helping each other out. I'll give you a quick story. So I was walking down one of the pathways on the university, and this young man was walking up. And I'm probably the only person on the campus with a deep engineering background. So I want to let you know that. So this student's looking around at all the buildings, and he's saying, "Do you know anybody?" And he stopped me. I didn't stop him. And he said, "Do you know anybody here that knows anything about engineering?" And so, so of all the people on the campus, he ran into me. So I started talking to him. We talked. He ended up enrolling in the school. Then he started a company based off an idea I passed along to him about 3D printing robots and creating kits for people to 3D print and then put together in order to learn about robotics. And now he's launching that, and it's one of the featured companies in that innovation collective that I just talked about. So that's the kind of ecosystem that we're trying to create. It could be replicated. We're talking about doing it here in the Katy area, but that type of thing can be replicated all around the country, literally, and create this opportunity for people to take their basic ideas and bring them into reality inside of safe spaces where you can talk about it and not feel judged or anything like that. So that's what we're doing, and there's other types of things like that around the community, I'm sure.
And I think the days of students showing up and us asking them, "What do you want to major in?" is really irrelevant now. I think we've got to spend more time talking with students about who they are, what is their background, better understanding, their circumstances, while at the same time, and our advisors, and we all have them, really are great about seeing the potential in each and every student and suggesting some pathways. But I always say that the education problem in this country is going to be solved one student at a time. If you got 100 students and we're trying to deal with 100 students, it's not going to happen. It's that one student. So I think there are new and creative ways that first of all, we can onboard students, be sensitive, and be more flexible as far as, they're all working. I mean, all our students are working. And be more flexible around how we approach learning with them, what it is they need. Really customizing an educational plan for every student. What a concept. I mean, and how important that is. Students come in with disabilities. Everybody has strengths and weaknesses. Really spending a lot more time early on with that student to make sure they launch in a way that's relevant to them, I think is a wise approach.
I think, thank you both, Dr. Chance and Dr. Hodges, for that. That is, what you highlighted is that building an ecosystem, providing the resources, and providing the room to experiment and grow is what's really needed, right? And that's what today's students are craving. That's what they're looking for. That's what gets them excited instead of being put in a box and being on a particular linear pathway, as you mentioned as well. But I really want to hear from President Billy, because being in a very remote location and being a small college, what are some of the challenges that you are facing, if you wouldn't mind sharing with us, in helping to build these type of ecosystems, or just in general?
So some of the things that we're facing is, a lot of our scientists that we have are getting older and getting retirement. So we've tried to bring in some TAs, who can eventually take over these. And so the good thing about our college is when people get there, they want to stay there, even the students. So it's like we got to bring the opportunities to them. And so it's thinking of innovative ways to bring that to them. And, a lot of them do have their own families. And so we want to make sure they're comfortable. We have daycare. We have just providing taking a lot of those barriers away from them so they can focus on going to school. And so that's one of the things that we work on. A thing that's exciting to me is our new partnership that we have with our early childhood. We have 5 other partners, and we're working on, we do have our bachelor's, but we're working on bringing that more online, and so those students can come to us because they're more comfortable. We did do mainstream. We do have a mainstream institution with that, and they're just, I don't know, they just weren't, building that relationship with our students. And, in tribal colleges, our students' success is the partnerships that they built and the relationships that they built with everybody. My door's always open, and so they're always in there getting stuff, and, and it's I like that. I like having the students knowing that they can come and see me, or they can message me if they have a problem. That's one that's unique about us and that we offer, but I do think that partnerships, I forgot to mention too, at Brainery, they did a cybersecurity for us that we did with the students, the high school students. And so those some of the things that's going to help us grow is, building, knowing people in the field and bringing that opportunity to our students. And whether it's online, bringing them on campus, we do a lot of hybrid classes too. And so that means that they'll be on campus at least once or twice throughout the semester. But we hired our first remote instructor, and so those are some of the things that we're moving toward. That COVID showed us that, we can, when we move to online, and we can move to it now. All of our classes can go on online if we have to have a snow day. We have snow days a lot in Montana, but now we know we can't ever take any days off because of
I'm sure the students love you for that, right?
Yeah, and staff.
Well, just having this conversation, thank you everyone for being so open and, brainstorming and giving us all ideas. It just shows us that the challenges are the same, whether you are a university or a college in Houston, or you are a college on a reservation. We're still facing the same issues with student engagement, getting the students excited, getting them on a path to capitalization faster, and helping them align their interests with their skills that they're learning. So on that, I just wanted to, first of all, thank Dr. Hodges and the West Houston Institute for having us and hosting this webinar, allowing us to tour the wonderful facilities, letting us get some ideas. And what I would like to welcome anybody in the audience that happens to be in Houston or is in Houston to stop by and visit, because Houston Community College has told us that the West Houston Institute is a very collaborative community environment, right? So we would like the community to get to know more about the amazing makerspaces, the amazing facilities that they have here. So everybody, please, make an effort to stop by. On that note, I would love to have everybody just kind of give a few closing remarks and give us, any insights that we may not have acquired right now. So I'm going to pass it on to Takidra and then kind of take it down the line.
Thank you. I want to echo that and thank everyone for participating on the panel. I think there are 5,000 conversations that we can continue to have about so many different topics. I just want to say to any educators, K through 12, students, parents that are watching, these conversations are taking place so that we can create better educational opportunities for students, whether it's the space industry, entrepreneurship, the agriculture industry. There's so many different areas that students are just not aware of. So we're working really hard behind the scenes to create programs that can provide more exposure. Dr. Glenn?
I'll use this one. Well, let me just end by saying that the future is, I'll quote a famous actor of mine who I recently had a chance to meet. William Shatner, as Captain Kirk, said that the future is the undiscovered country. But what that really means is that we have the opportunity to shape it. We have the opportunity to make our world and our society into that which we truly want to participate within. We have that power to do that. And if we just looked at our news, and we would think that society's in disarray and we're at each other's throats. But if you talk to other people and you build relationships and you communicate and you be open and willing to share and also willing to receive, then our society's much better. And we have a chance to make our world into something special. And education is the key to doing that. And I think that's important for us to discuss it. And we're discussing it in a way to say that how we're doing it now may not be the best way for the future. And we're willing to look in the mirror and say, where could we change and where could we do things better in order to build this future that we so much want to live within. So I would just encourage all of us to do that and to think about that in that way. And I would, say it's with respect to our university, that we're willing and open to continue to work together and to collaborate and to build coalitions together to help our students be better in the future. So that's what I wanted.
Thank you, and I'd like to end by calling on educators to think about the impact that you're making on students every day. I think that most students that have become successful, they typically go back to that one conversation what they have with that one instructor. And I think that a lot of times that is overlooked, and it could be because educators are often overwhelmed. They have a lot of students in the classroom. But it is so important that we work together, parents and educators, to find what are the interests of our kids and how can we engage them more to want to pursue those things and keep them busy. There's so much to do, and there's so many things that we still need to acquire and discover that we really just need to get on it and be busy. And for the public sector, I think that it is important that they contribute to making those resources available. There are so many opportunities for students to learn, but oftentimes they cost money. And many parents, especially those in underrepresented groups, cannot afford the summer camps, the travels to NASA to bring students to see NASA and know all that is going on there. Make it more affordable, help them achieve those opportunities to be exposed to what they could do in the future. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for inviting me and opening your campus up to us. It really opened up of the different opportunities that we can be providing on our campus. As you know, we do have some of the machines, we don't have anybody that knows how to use them, and so it's just creating partnerships that will last and that will help sustain some of the things that we have, you know, and there's a lot of opportunities here, and I'm just thankful to be here. And you know, like I iterate her what she said, that partnership, relationship building is the key. You know, a lot of students do they look for that, you know, in our university, especially at our institution. You know, we always try to find, especially during COVID, this person isn't doing good, who is close to that person? And so we go as a group, this person's close, well, you reach out to that person. I mean, I even told the person, I'm gonna break protocol and I'll be at your house if you don't get on the phone with your instructor. And so they did. They lived like 2 miles from us, but we were on a lockdown. And so it was crazy times for us, but you know, and that's the biggest thing that helped us through that was our enrollment went up, but it's building partnerships and providing opportunities that students want to see. And I think that us starting to gear towards the K through 12 now, I think that's going to open up more opportunities, educational programs at our institution. So thank you guys.
Well, this has been a great experience. We love hosting these types of activities, and we love hosting you. Our colleagues from U of H Victoria, which are essential to our mission. So thank you for being here. And I guess what I would say is education is economic development. And I don't know why politicians have such a hard time on that. I think of a woman going through a nurse's aid program at Houston Community College and going and getting a job in the hospital. Then the hospital pays for her LVN degree. She gets her LVN degree, she buys a house. And then she continues on, and then she gets her RN degree and she buys a bigger house. All along becoming a taxpayer and being a citizen, a full, you know, citizen. And so let's don't ever forget that education is economic development. Whatever we can do to prepare everyone for the future, the better off we are.
Well, great. Thank you so much. And thank you to all our panelists, West Houston Institute again, and Dr. Hodges for opening this up to us. We would like to conclude by playing a short video that is part of a YouTube series from Braintree, and please be sure to check out this video and other video on our YouTube channel. So here, we're gonna watch this video.
To our series called Jobs, Now, Then, and Future, which looks at how jobs have evolved through time. Imagine having people with the same jobs from the past, present, and future together. Isn't that cool? The career that we will dive into today is astrophysics. Let's explore how scientists through time have explored the physical properties and behavior of celestial objects and phenomena, including stars, planets, galaxies, black holes, and the universe as a whole space. This is what has made space travel possible. All right, folks. We have some amazing guests with us today, and we're going to explore the wonders of space together. Our first guest is the pioneer of astrophysics, Mr. Daniel Puller. Daniel, can you tell us how you came across such an amazing idea?
Well, Marshall, it's all about curiosity and observation. We spend most of our time studying the stars and the basic laws of physics governing the universe. It's just telescopes and our ingenuity.
That's fascinating. Our next guest is Ms. Erica Baumann, an astrophysicist from 2023. Erica, could you tell us about your work with the Hubble Space Telescope and radio telescopes to study the universe?
Absolutely, Marshall. I work with Hubble to capture detailed images of galaxies and stars. With radio telescopes, I study cosmic microwave background radiation, which helps us understand the early universe.
Wow, that's some cutting-edge stuff. Our last guest is Ms. Sarah Wang from the world of space and physics. Sarah, can you tell us about the technological revolution that's happening in your field?
Yes, Marshall. We're now using artificial intelligence to analyze vast amounts of data from telescopes and simulations. And we're building even more advanced telescopes to explore deeper into the universe.
Amazing. But what do you do with all that information?
Well, we're studying things like the formation of galaxies, black holes, and dark matter. And we're also looking for signs of life on other planets, which is incredibly exciting.
We aim to solve our biggest problems on Earth, like climate change and resource depletion. If we can figure out how to live sustainably in space, it could help us here on Earth too.
Wow, that's incredible. I'm amazed by the progress you guys have made since my time.
Indeed, Daniel. We're living in some exciting times, with so much to discover and explore in space. Before we wrap up, can you all share some of the future interventions and aims in your respective fields?
Well, Marshall, in my time, we dream of traveling to other star systems and exploring other planets. And with the advancements in space technology, we're closer than ever to realizing that dream.
That's right, Daniel. In the future, we hope to expand our understanding of the universe and discover even more about the origins of life, and we want to explore and establish colonies on other planets to ensure the survival of our species.
From the perspective of space technology, we're working on making it possible for humans to live and work in space for extended periods. We want to build sustainable habitats, grow food, and establish hospitals and other infrastructure necessary for human life.
That's truly incredible. It's amazing how astrophysics and space technology can lead to advancements in so many other fields. Thank you for sharing your visions for the future with us.
It was a pleasure, Marshall. I'm excited to see what the future holds.
Same here, Marshall. The possibilities are endless.
Thank you for having us, Marshall. It's always a pleasure to talk about the exciting advancements in our field.
With that, our episode comes to an end. Thanks to our panelists for sharing their experiences in the field of astrophysics. Thank you all for the hard work. With this, your host, Marshall, signs off for the day. See you again next month with another amazing career evolution.
Well, thank you. Yes.
All right, we can talk.
Can you get a picture of all of us up here?
I don't know about all that. I didn't go on
Everybody
bringing
can
a
get their
big
water
camera.
bottle behind, and then we'll move the microphone.
I don't know how long it's been since I've stayed quiet for an hour. All right, ready? 1, 2. Let me just take a couple more. Be on the safe side. And we'll be sharing all these pictures with everyone also. Anthony's going to be putting these pictures on Google Drive and sharing the link with everyone, right? So thank you.
Thank you.
Well, thank you. That was even more thrilling than I expected. And I feel like we need episode 2, 3, and 4 after this.
Come down to us.